morning, everybody. Whether you're on the East Coast, West Coast, or around the world, this is the Wednesday Wrap-Up. I'm your host, Bo, and of course, I'm here with my guys, Mr. U and Herb. How's it going, gentlemen?
Know what it is. It's Joe.
Let me join the party.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow, that cup is incredibly big. 32 ounce beer, right? Wow.
Well, it's not full. I won't front on that, but it is getting me through this morning.
Copy that.
Yep. All right. So how's it going, Josh? So yeah, let's kick this thing off with some WNBA, even though I know Herb is not ready for this. But
Yeah. Hey, I was actually watching the game last night before we did our show and before the Timberwolves game was on and the WNBA game was ending, and I didn't flip over immediately. I finished the WNBA game before flipping over.
Oh, nice. Was that the Storm game?
Yes. No, I'm sorry, not the Storm. The Sparks and Caitlin Clark and company.
I got you. All right. Well, this one was the one we're going to look at.
I didn't think they put other games on the air besides Caitlin Clark, to be honest. So.
They do. It's on ESPN, the Ocho.
Okay.
Occasionally, they let a couple slip through.
Oh, okay. By accident, like something happens programming.
That's right. You
like,
need
oh
a
my
special app
god,
to view it, but you know,
Yeah, that person is fired.
yes, easily.
Don't let that happen again.
But so this one here, this was it was interesting to me because we're seeing a lot of kind of hard fouls against the rookies, and it makes you think that there is some very real jealousy kind of coming into the league here just because of how much noise the media has created around the rookie class coming in. And so you're starting to see stuff like this here that, I mean, this is some Draymond Green type of stuff that you don't want to see in basketball, right? Like you like seeing hard physical basketball, but this is more WWE style where there's not even a play being made on the basketball. So we'll bring this video in. Now this is a multiple-time All-Star doing this, so this isn't like some goon off the bench.
First time she went down and wasn't able to get back into the play defensively. Then the arm from Alyssa Thomas.
Yeah, wasn't she like
you
second
said,
last
could
year?
potentially be an upgrade on that sequence there.
Well, you see Angel Reese
Right.
trying to come in. Oh, my
There.
goodness. She had her hand around Angel Reese's neck.
area.
So she just grabs her by the neck, throws her to the ground, makes zero play on the ball. And, if you've been watching any of the WNBA, you're seeing Caitlin Clark getting some pretty hard fouls throughout it as well. And some of it you can, kind of say it's welcome to the league moments, but things like that's ridiculous. Now, obviously, that was a flagrant foul. She got tossed from the game after that one. I don't care who you are. You can't justify that particular action. But what do you guys think of that? You think this is just a jealousy thing? They're tired of hearing all the hype about these rookies coming in. All things being equal, Angel Reese has had a decent start to her career in the WNBA.
Right. I think she's played about like you expected for someone who was a big with no kind of outside game to her. So it was always going to be down low and banging kind of stuff is what you expected. And I think what her Cardosa's hurt right to start the season. So she's not even starting with the person who was supposed to be next to her. Those two actually with Thomas and her actually played at Maryland. I don't remember together, but they both started at Maryland. That's where she was before. So to Reese's credit, she came out and was like, it's fine. It's a hard foul. I'm good. We're still cool. I appreciate it. Let's move on. So she didn't think it was that big a deal. In the bigger scheme of things, yeah, the rookies have definitely had a target on their back. And I mean, Diana Taurasi set that up before they even got drafted and said this was about to happen, True. So some of them still played well. Obviously, Caitlin Clark's got good numbers. The shooting percentages and the you need to come up a little at times, and the turnovers need to change. You can see, the path to that. And I think Brink has had a good season too as well. But yeah, they definitely have a target on their back. But that was obviously next level. I understand some of the pushing and shoving and going after, but come on, that's especially when you're like the undefeated team in the league and playing against like there's no need for it. And you're an MVP. You were second in MVP last year. Like
exactly.
You don't have anything to prove to you. So go into that, right? There's just no not that it makes sense for anybody, but I expect that less from you than the goon off the end of the bench that you send in to go send a message.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? That would be like Steph doing it instead of Draymond.
Right.
When Draymond does it, you're like, yeah, he's their goon. It makes sense. If you saw Steph out there grabbing someone by the throat and throwing him to the ground, you're like, okay, well, that seems kind of wild.
Right. Agreed.
I mean, not that it's okay in the game at all, but
you have certain players that are supposed to enforce and certain players that aren't. I mean, that's just...
It's hard to add anything to what Herb said. I mean, that was just spot on about the big picture with the rookies. I think the Caitlin Clark that's the part where I think is getting under people's skin, because now unfortunately we adding a race component to it, where people are talking about, this player is getting this much credit because of reasons outside of the person's game. I mean, I think her college career said a lot. We talked about it several weeks ago while they were still in the playoffs in college or in the tournament, about her being the best of all time or among the greatest. I forgot where we landed on that as a group. But, I mean, numbers-wise, highest scoring average, highest points. You got most three-pointers in the season, most three-pointers in the career. You talk about most national scoring title. I mean, like, you can't dispute any of that stuff, so I don't know how you can get mad about that. I think people just are mad about
that's why they're pulling the race card
all the time, in your face all the time. I'm not on Instagram every day, but when I am on there, at the top of my feed, this is Yahoo Sports specifically, on top of my feed, guess what's there? It's that. Every time, no matter what time of day I go in there, that's what's there. It's not football, it's not baseball, it's not the NBA, it's women's basketball. I ain't against that, but I'm just saying, it could be a concern about oversaturation. So those players might be feeling the same thing, like, man, it's tired of hearing this. Could spill out onto the court, and some Draymond type stuff could start happening. I don't know, but the coverage is nothing that we control, but obviously it's a lot, and it's being force-fed to us, in my opinion. It's a lot.
At least they're trying to take advantage of an upward tick. Not that they're doing great marketing the thing anyway, but at least they're trying to.
Nobody knows.
No, exactly. But at least they're finally doing something. But and they did have that game, Caitlin Clark versus Cameron Brink a few days ago.
And last night as well. This is the second time they played, was last night.
Yeah, but the time before that they played, they pulled more people than any of the Lakers home games, right? So that's solid for a WNBA game to get over 19,000 people in the building. That's pretty sweet. But to touch on your other point, them going after her because of race is probably the most lazy thing to go after, because they're just like, oh yeah, it's because she's white. It's like, no, she broke every record. All of them. You can try and spin it however you want, but she broke all the records. But anybody would have got hype if you break all the NCAA records, especially when you do all-time scoring men's or women's, right? Like you're going to get a lot of hype for that. That's just part of it. So that's an attack on, I can't say anything because the stats don't back it up. So I'm just going to use the race card here to try and solidify a point that doesn't make any sense.
Right. And you have to give her credit for I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, there's other stuff you got. She did get a team like Iowa to back-to-back national championship games. And, as fans of the sport, any sport, we know how tough that is to get there once, So, I do ding her a little. She didn't win one, and it was hard for me to go, oh, yeah, she's the greatest of all time. But it's like you have to give her credit. I think where a lot of the jealousy and maybe I want to almost say mismarketing is they rode the Caitlin Clark wave in, right? And all the stats are up. But they didn't – it's like they were slow to spread it out to the stars that they already had to and for the rest of the rookie class. You don't want to put all your eggs in the Caitlin Clark basket because, she gets hurt the next game. That's it for the rest of the season. You've put nothing behind everybody else. Make her your focal point. But like this was, what do we say when this draft class? This was one of the most heralded draft classes you've ever seen in an age of great marketing, to where I can actually name, like 5 of the first rounders off the top of my head. I can't do that for any other class. Take advantage of this, spread the love to everybody else, and you've got yourselves a good future. But if you put it all on Clayton Clark, you're just going to get jealousy and nobody's going to care about everybody else. And I just think that's a big strategy.
Not just that, but how, as a marketing team, how are you not hyping up the Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese rivalry, right? Like, they don't have to dislike each other or not be friends or whatever, right? But they're on different teams, and they were on different teams in college. So you totally could have hyped that up, especially because they kicked the season off against each other. Like, that would have been such an easy marketing strategy, and they've done none of that. Big Mike checking in. Thanks for that. And they've had more merch sales than all of last season. Honestly, I think Caitlin Clark jerseys on its own accomplished that. Up like 2,000%. It is pretty crazy.
But you have several other marketable stars in that top.
That's what I'm saying.
Cameron Brink and Angel Reese are 2 of the biggest names. Angel Reese didn't even get drafted. How was she, a 7th? But
But and Brink was, the thing that's funny is Caitlin Clark gets so much notoriety because she, broke all the records and everything. Cameron Brink, if I recall, ended up 3rd with all those records, right? Like on those lists. So, I mean, it's not like she was way off or anything.
Right.
So the WNBA definitely could have done a much better job.
Right.
They should have been doing that anyway. They had talent to start with. They should have been doing that long before now. This ain't the first time they had talent.
And that was one of the things. They were like, sorry, I'm cutting you off. That's my bad. I just get
just getting you excited. I get it.
Yeah, sorry, my bad. I apologize.
I'm just saying that this is your point. I'm just agreeing with you, man. This should have been going on, not just now, not yesterday. This should have been. They had talent long before now.
Yeah.
I mean, names like a Diana Taurasi and others. I guess Aaliyah Boston didn't include her in there. I mean, these names should have been talked about long before that because they deserved it. And now it's like it feels weird that now all of a sudden this is a whole bunch of coverage and centered on one person. You know what I'm saying? So that's not a good thing. Marketing wise, something's kind of skewed there. I mean, talk about Cardoso. I mean, she's a monster in the middle. You can market her.
Oh,
like how did with Shaq? I mean, market her out the frame. Right. I mean, look what she did. Look what she's done. Even with the championship, I mean, she was dominant. I mean, so they got opportunities there. They don't seem to be taking them. Like you said, Caitlin Clark goes down, and it could happen. And she's trying real hard, and she's busting her chops, and she's in the learning curve deep. If something happens with her, she goes down. What happens then? Who are we going to talk about?
Yeah, and that's my problem.
You haven't elevated anybody else. You know what I'm saying, who are you going to discuss? Yeah. So that's. I think it's an opportunity missed here. All right,
I agree.
No, absolutely. All right, so kind of blending our NFL and basketball together here. We got more big shows getting canceled. We got inside the NFL Total Access going to be shut down after 21 years. And inside the NBA also coming to a close with Shaq and Barkley. So it's interesting to see all of these major shows coming to an end, kind of the beginning of the end as far as normal sports shows, right? And a lot of that I have to attest to people not watching these shows the same way anymore, right? Like people don't kind of seek out a show the way they used to, right? Like they're going to go home and they're going to watch the show whenever it was on. So many people absorb their content through the internet, through shows like this, that you're seeing all of these kind of fall off. And obviously it helps shows like ours, because even when you watch these stars on these shows, they almost all have podcasts now. So, I mean, they're fueling what it is we do, but it is interesting to see these major networks really dumping all their shows.
One thing I ran into a story. It started in January. I think he's with ESPN, Andrew Marchand. he was talking about how there's a deal on the table. All they need now is the signatures for it. It's real close with the NFL and ESPN, where ESPN would take total control of all NFL media. That's concerning to me for a few reasons, but I think there's an issue with potentially some compromise because if ESPN now is always concerned about what Park Avenue is going to say based on what they say or do. Mm-hmm. So now you're going to have control of all NFL media. The entire NFL networks will be under your control. I feel like we're not going to get what we enjoy from these kind of broadcasts and kind of analysis. We're
Well,
just
the
kind of
NFL
watered
actually-
down, kind of tempered, milk toast kind of coverage, and we don't want that. They're already suffering right now. I mean, we talked about the regional sports network and how things seem to be going downhill, where especially in Major League Baseball, especially there. I mean, it's like almost dying out, and people are cutting the cord. They're not doing cable and satellite anymore. Everybody's streaming, so now money's not being made on the other side. So they're just cutting costs. And it's like slashing contracts over there. The NFL Network told us with a 20-year Hallmark show, and they killed it on the 17th of this month. You know what I'm saying? They could strip everything down to nothing. It's like, wow.
Well, the NFL is actually trying to buy into ESPN.
You ain't got to try anymore. All they got to do is just sign, and it's done. And it's like, so what does that mean for, like you said, your point about people not seeking out the shows anymore? I think that's a big deal because it's almost like us in podcasting. If all the people that got into podcasting when it first started, they were sitting pretty because nobody really caught on to it yet. Mm-hmm. And everybody was seeking them out, and they had a big following, and now they got a massive following and now us guys trying to come inside here and start a show, and I got friends that are trying to start one right now. It's an uphill climb for them because now everybody with a basement and a microphone are doing it now. So, so it's like it's kind of that same with the sports shows. What do you rush home to go watch anymore? What Sports Center? I mean, it's not what it used to be. Sports Center was marquee back in the day. Now it's like, I forget it's even on. What time does Sports Center come on? I have no idea what time it comes on.
I haven't watched Sports Center in years. Like, I just don't watch those stuff. And that's Raj's point is my point about Inside the NBA. Like I don't watch NBA regularly. I watch some in the playoffs, but I have several nights after the game stayed on to watch Inside the NBA because it's it's a good mix of characters on there. You're gonna get some information, some goofiness. That's
an entertaining show.
Ernie trying to hold it all together there. Yeah.
Besides, Charles Barkley is hilarious in the way that he looks like he does zero prep for shows.
Thank you.
Like he doesn't even know who the players are.
Yep.
He's like that dude. You're just like,
oh, they were having an interview with the Dallas Mavericks player the other day, and he called him the wrong name in the interview, and everybody's looking at him like, "Come on, Chuck, a little professional." You know what I mean? Like
that is not what he does.
No,
we work hard to prep, and he just comes inside there and dogs it and gets paid.
Yeah, well,
it's not right.
When you have the career he has, he gets some latitude that we don't.
Yeah. So that's basically it. When you bring on former players, that's kind of stuff's gonna happen. But yeah, I mean that's one of the few that I actually cared about and watched. Inside the NFL shows, I mean, just because I'm not a huge NFL guy, and I'm usually like tuning in for the game and tuning right back off. And like to your earlier point, I'm probably more likely now after games to go seek out somebody online that I want specific content from versus like general stuff about the whole game. Like, Cowboys game, I'm going to probably seek out a live broadcast or, something from a Cowboys person because I want just that perspective versus, I don't necessarily care about both teams or somebody who's supposed to be neutral about both sides. So,
nope, that makes sense. And yeah, Rob, I think a lot of people are doing exactly this, where they're not doing cable anymore, especially now that every network essentially has their own streaming service, which is, let's be honest, really annoying.
Yes.
But at some point, I don't want to have to jump around 500 apps. No. It's actually why people watch just smaller clips here on YouTube, because they're like, you know what? I could watch it. I could pay for this app, or I can wait, till this afternoon.
Right.
And see the important clips of the show that somebody's cut up and thrown on YouTube.
Yeah. And the most annoying thing about all those apps is that one time you're looking for a game or show or something, you find out it's on Paramount Plus, not on just regular TV today. Don't understand why this is happening.
That one's really annoying, especially when you think back to the postseason play last year, right? Where they had the one game that was on Peacock.
Yeah.
Because NBC
Miami
had the rights to it. And so they're like, oh, we're throwing this one on streaming. Now, obviously, the ratings weren't as good for that game as it was for the rest of the stuff because a lot of people didn't have Peacock.
Right.
But they got a bump in their numbers on their streaming because people wanted to watch that game.
Right. And it was on a Saturday night, too. So they were like, if you guys go out, we're fine. But if you stay in, give us a shot here. I was like, come on. So.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's the 500 streaming services, that is annoying.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a fan of that.
Right, so we don't
It was not a great game.
What you referring to? What game are we talking about?
Mm-hmm.
With that game that he
A little frosty.
Yeah. What are you talking about? A little cold. People had to have limbs taken off after the game.
Wow.
See, I like where you're at, Josh. Yes, no point in watching those shows when you can get your stuff here.
I like that, man.
That is hilarious. All right, so let's jump into some interesting NIL stuff that you knew was coming. So there was a Florida recruit, we'll call him, in Jaden Rashada, and he declines a potential NIL deal to go to Miami, comes to Florida, and then their NIL program within the school, I guess, ends up trying to back out after the signed contract is no longer an NIL deal. He is now suing the school for the NIL deal that he missed with Miami, which rightfully so, he should. Breach of contract.
With Florida, not with Miami.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, no, with the one he missed with Miami.
No, I said, but you said he's suing Florida.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
For the one that he missed in Miami. So yeah, but these are the types of things that you had to know that NIL was going to bring, right? When these schools start over-promising, don't necessarily have the funding to back up what it is they are, promising to these kids. And that essentially is what's happening here. So he is suing the school, the coach, and there's a couple other people that are mentioned in the lawsuit because of all the people involved as far as recruiting and promising things that ultimately didn't come through. Yes. I mean, I think he would take those at this point because right now he's just kind of out. And of course, he's late enough in the game now that Miami rescinded their offer, right? He declined it. They went a different route. Obviously, the deal with Florida didn't go through. So now he's just kind of on the outside looking in, trying to figure out what it is he's going to do. But it costs.
No, he's already with Georgia. You talking about Rashida? Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm thinking the other dude that was with him.
Yeah, no. As far as I know, he hasn't landed anywhere quite yet.
No, he's at Georgia, and I thought
he committed to Arizona State, and then he stayed there for a year.
He went to Arizona State, and then he went to Georgia.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the backup quarterback for Georgia right now.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah. So.
But yeah,
he went to Arizona after that, like Mr. Yu was saying, or Arizona State. I'm sorry, and then he transferred to Georgia this past year. So he's a backup quarterback. He actually
twice since then. That's what you've been talking about.
He's bounced around already a little bit. He actually asked, I think, Kirby Smart about going ahead and suing, and he got his blessing before, or let him know, I guess, before they move forward with this lawsuit. So it's interesting that we're even talking about a 4-year NIL deal because, like, the chances of him staying there for 4 years and being happy didn't seem all that great anyway.
Sure.
So you can sue for the full value of something that we're like, as far as I know, are you signing a contract and guaranteeing you're going to be at either one of those two schools for 4 years, or you signing the deal, but after a year you're still allowed to leave and there's no repercussions on your end? So the whole thing is just kind of it's just kind of amazing.
Yeah, I would imagine there's some outs, right? I think in this case it's because of the way that it fell apart, right? Because you're backing out after signing it. So like I'm sure there's clauses for them to get out. Like if you wanted to get out or if they want to get out at a later date, you know, you probably have to pay some of it back, or, you know, I'm sure there's verbiage in there that allows that to happen. But if you never even get the initial payment after signing and it costs you money from potentially going somewhere else, you know, that's where the lawsuit makes sense.
Right. And I get that. Which is weird. As much help as Florida needs right now, like, why even put an offer on the table if you don't even, you know, like, what was the point? Just to not make him go to Miami? You got bigger problems than Miami, you know? Like, your coach is about to get fired this year if everything falls apart. So I need you guys to step it up a little bit here.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
I agree with Mike over there. I didn't realize how much Georgia hated Florida until I started listening to a Georgia podcast regularly.
Oh, yeah?
How? Yeah. I mean, I guess because in my lifetime, Florida had a big heyday, right? And then they've kind of fallen off since then. And now Georgia's on the come up. And I know they play each other every year, but I guess I just always thought Florida hated like other Florida schools and Georgia hated other folks. I guess I just never realized how much. And it's like right now when that hatred's coming along, it just feels like, you know, beating up on somebody because Florida's awful and Georgia's on top of the world. It's like, why do you guys bother hating that? But you know, you have to realize, I guess in my case, it runs deeper for them, obviously, than just.
Yeah,
right
I mean,
now.
there's a lot of history there.
Right. And for me, like for someone, you know, because we moved around and we came late to the party on a lot of this stuff, I didn't realize the history of Georgia, Florida, but they hate him. So, of course, he goes, hey, Kirby, can I sue Florida? And Kirby's like, yeah. I mean, you know, sure, man, whatever.
Like, if we could do this every year, then awesome. Yeah. No.
Well, that's a crazy story.
What are we doing here?
Yeah.
Right on. Well, we're going to do our commercial break, and then on the back side of it, we will talk about the future of the Cowboys.
Oh, my God.
This is Reggie Jones, owner and founder of Air Sports Academy. Air is based on 4 core principles: heart, education, integrity, resiliency. Air is about developing student athletes physically and mentally through training, mentorship, and effective marketing. We've created a platform and a blueprint for our state to shine in the brightest of lights. I created this program because it was a need for our state. We needed to have the light shine on the student athletes in our region. And now that is happening at an all-time and undeniable rate. We created a lane for the kids in our state to get their college education paid for and set their families up for future success. We created an environment where serious athletes can now come compete fearlessly. We've achieved this through our variety of elite programs. Our 6-month off-season program, where first-year starters or seasoned vets can all come develop. Our 5-on-5 program, which is all about our line. Our youth tackle program, which is the first and only youth tackle team from the state of Washington to ever win a major national championship. Our 7-on-7 program, which is ranked top 10 in the country every year. Our high school 11-on-11 club tackle program, which creates a unique and much-needed opportunity for our kids. Our college prep program, which allows our graduates to come back from college and prepare for their upcoming season. Our track and field program, which creates an opportunity for our young air boys and air girls to continue to get bounced. When you're a national program, you receive national respect, which is why when you look at recruiting boards and top player lists from around the country, you'll always find players from Air on those lists. Which is why college coaches from some of the most prestigious schools around the country come into our facility to recruit our players. The Penn State, Alabama, Oregon, Stanford, Florida State, the list goes on. Our players are being recruited, offered, and committing to some of the top schools in the nation. The experience our players and families receive is second to none. We offer a competitive brand of sports at Air. We are the ball. And with that comes great responsibility. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. This is Air.
All right, and welcome back. And of course, before we move on, I guess, so a situation like this could be interesting from that side as well. Signing a deal, moving on before you see your first game. I would imagine.
I said he should have to give it back. And, we're Alabama fans. There should either be a buyout term on giving it or just straight out like you have to return the money. I don't even see a way around that. If you're going to do stuff like this where Florida's being sued for money not
exactly
given, like there has to be a ramification the other way. If I take your money and then we don't even do anything, if you take a signing bonus and then never play for someone, I mean, like you just have to give something back. Whatever he's taken, he has to. And I mean, he's going to Alabama. Like, school should cover it. He should cover it. Somehow, somebody should get their money back. Period.
Well, in that scenario, I think he should have to pay it back. Absolutely. Yeah. Right. I mean,
and I don't even see a way around it. Like, I don't see an argument for it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even see how that's a thing.
Yeah. Because, what did you do for him?
Right.
Did you help in some extra recruiting before you left? I mean, if that's the case, you calculate that out into some sort of, I don't know, per hour, whatever. But I mean,
nope.
At the end of the day, if you don't fulfill your contract, it would be like anything else, right? It's a breach of contract. So you should be obligated to pay it back, similar to the other kids suing the school.
Yep.
Right? Like it's affecting their ability to bring in other talent because they paid you, right? Yep. So by you accepting it and then leaving, made it so they didn't have those funds available to bring someone else in that might actually stay. Yep. So,
and it's the second time you've done this, kid. So burn the same team. So we're done with you. If they gave you a car wherever you are when you made the decision, they should be able to pull you over, pull you out the car, and just drive the car off. Say, all right, buddy, good luck getting home.
That's right. Hope your
we gave you that phone too. We'll just go ahead.
Wow.
Yep.
And this is a kid who is coming back to our school. I still feel the same way. Like there has to be some ramifications. We can't say, hey, the kids get all the power and they can do whatever they want and everyone else is held accountable. It just doesn't make sense. And doesn't prepare them for any other part of their life.
No, I mean, the blade cuts both ways, right? So, I mean, if you can go after the school for not fulfilling their end, then they should absolutely be able to go after you for not fulfilling yours, right? If you decide to hop in the transfer portal 2 seconds after signing the contract, then you should forfeit that money. Like that's just part of it.
I'm trying to help you out there.
Well, that's too bad because it is coming.
Thank you, Big Mike. I love you, brother. Yeah. Thank you for having my back, man. I don't feel that all the time.
This year you get to talk to Giants on Monday, and then he has to talk to Cowboys on Wednesday.
Talk about the Giants on Monday.
You get to
talk. You don't talk about the Giants
because
not every wonder.
Disarray of what this team is becoming.
Yeah, so you should have fun with these conversations.
Yeah, in fact, you should even like this conversation because it's the Cowboys falling apart.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like you've been watching this, it's coming. It was just a matter of when is it going to happen. And the whole Jerry Jones thing's a whole different thing. If you want to go there, it'd be the whole rest of the show because,
of course,
his meddling in this franchise, and I'm talking about the entire. I've been back for 28 years, dude. This whole time he's been doing that with the kind of limited results that they've been getting. That's
for
almost 3 decades, man. It's a long time. Tell them, do the math. It's a lot of days, a lot of weeks, a lot of months.
Yep.
But in regards to this, though, it just feels like it was bound to happen. They were bringing in big name guys, trying to take that next push to move into the place in the postseason where they should have been, where they've been predicted to be at, where they put themselves in every year, the Super Bowl, and they just haven't been able to do it. And now I think you mentioned CeeDee Lamb. If you didn't, we were talking about it in pre-production about.
Yeah, well, that's actually where this was headed. Is
we'll set it up.
We all knew exactly how this was going down, right? You knew that they were coming to the end of their window. There was too many contracts that they were going to have to pay.
Right.
But now CeeDee Lamb comes into question here because he's going to get that money similar to Chase or Jefferson, and whichever one signs last will be the highest paid guy, right? Well, that's not something the Cowboys can afford. So now it's starting to look like instead of this rebuild taking place next year, where it was obviously going to happen because of everybody's contracts coming due, now it looks like they may really entertain the idea of trading Lamb because this thing looks like it's coming apart this year.
Yeah. I think the money is astronomical. Look at the salary cap for him. This salary cap next year is really decent, but this coming year right here, it's bad. But like you said,
next year they're actually in trouble because whether Dak is
on
around
90 next year though.
Well, whether Dak's on the roster or not, they're paying his cap hit is $60 million.
I thought they were around 90 next year because they're around 255 right now.
Oh yeah, no, I mean they don't have anything they can do, but they don't have anywhere to go next year either. Yeah. Like their cap hit drops down, but only because a lot of contracts come due that they're not going to be able to re-sign.
Yeah, but the whole all-in thing it's a fallacy. I think we can really see it now. When you got rid of guys that had several hundred snaps to their credit, a guy like Tyron Smith, Tony Pollard. You brought in Kendricks. The man can't stay healthy. Let's just be honest about it. It just is what it is. He's awesome, but he can't stay healthy no matter where he goes. You brought Zeke back. I'm not sure what you were trying to accomplish besides the nostalgia of having him back in the building. But you traded down in the first round with the Lions. You're bringing rookies in. This is not an all-in situation, right? It doesn't appear to be that way. And now you got Prescott, who is going to want something. You got Michael Parsons, who's coming up for a contract. And then you got CeeDee Lamb, who gave you almost 1,800 yards last year, 12 touchdowns. He's going to want $30 million at least. And that's kind of the going rate. But to your point again, if Chase and Jefferson get their money first, they're going to have a heck of a problem because I don't see them paying him more than those two guys are going to command. Could you imagine that the astronomical figures for Jefferson once that gets ramped up, and then Chase or something? These guys are arguably 1A and 1B, wherever you want to put them. I can't even. That's a trivia question. I don't even know where to put them in that regard. I had to go look at the numbers, but could you imagine CeeDee Lamb right behind them wanting more than those? It can't happen. So I think the Cowboys are in the place now where they are looking at their downfall for real. Like seriously, like considering rebuild. I know it's blasphemy to say they're going to be rebuilding, but this is where they appear to be heading. Unless you guys see something different going on right now, that's how it looks to me, though.
Yeah, it's weird that like this would have been the time to go all in because it's about to blow up next year, and they didn't plan for this, so they can't do all three extensions at the same time. So now they're just like, now I don't know what to do. I mean, we had a Cowboys person, a football girl, appreciate her, Sarah, coming on, and we went after the Cowboys for 20 minutes, and she had no defense. She's like, I don't get what's happening either, you know? And so to the original point, you really set yourself up to where it's like, if I sign CeeDee Lamb for all this, and then I've got no quarterback, and then, you know, the Parsons thing is up in the air, I still don't have like a good number two, right? Wide receiver for him anyway. I don't know what we're doing running. You know, like there's so many other questions. It's like, am I going to be paying CeeDee Lamb, you know, 30-something million to have nobody throw him the ball and have no team really around him? So that's, I think, where it comes back to, would they actually trade him because this thing is heading downhill and we need to get some value while we can? But it's crazy to think of.
Yeah, ideally you'd want to have all three guys. I'm sure that they would like to do that. They had the ability to do so. But it's like, what's the best case scenario on this? Because getting all three, I don't think it's going to happen. So what's the best case scenario? Can they? Is the best case scenario one of these three guys or two of them? Because they can tag CeeDee Lamb next year, but what's that number going to look like?
Right.
To tag him? And how's he going to feel about being tagged when he potentially look at being the highest paid wide receiver ever at the number that he's projected to have, which is like strange to think about it because I don't think he's better than Jefferson or Chase, but he potentially could be.
That doesn't always mean anything. Contract time.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
contract is like, I want more than that guy. What do you mean I'm not better than him? That's not what I said. I just want.
Exactly.
If it happens after Chase and Jefferson, then it does kind of mean something. Because that means Jefferson, they can't go back and try to redo what they already did.
Right.
So,
well, no, but I mean that's how all the contracts have become. Is whoever signs last is the guy that's going to make the most.
Right. Which
Doesn't
is
matter
why.
if you're better.
which is why when you're trying to plan ahead, you try to get your guy signed first. You don't like push it all to the back and wait on it. So,
well,
it's crazy.
Like if they were really trying to be all in, right? Like if they were really following Jerry Jones' mantra there, then they would have taken care of Dak already, because then they could have moved this money around, so they could have kept other pieces. But now that they're waiting again, right? Because that's where they ran into a problem last time. They paid Zeke, and then decided, oh, we're going to wait another year to try and pay Dak. And then it ended up costing them a lot of money, right? So now they're doing that same thing again. If they're trying to keep him in the house, then they need to get it done so that they can do some creative accounting to move this money around so the cap isn't crazy, right? So they can sign other pieces. But otherwise, this sure looks like it's being tore down.
Yeah,
this is horrible. I have to sit here and defend the Cowboys in any way. This is like needles in my. This is awful. However, the fact of the matter is that Jerry Jones never really was on board with Dak, and everybody in the world knows it. Maybe Dak even knows it too. I'm saying he was never on board with that, and that shows his idiocy. I mean, to be honest, numbers wise, I think we did this sometime in the preseason. We had a show. We were talking about Dak's numbers. He was the 5th best quarterback last year, and I think he was top 10 several years before that. It was like you had some kind of bump. You don't like what happened in really big games late in the season. We saw that he was, like both shared it many times. He was an interception machine.
Yeah,
and he promised he wouldn't do it anymore, and he went back on his word. But
actually, he had a good season.
Yeah.
So how could you not be on board?
The regular season was still good for him.
Yeah. In a league where those kind of quarterbacks are hard to find, top 10 quarterbacks are not. They don't grow on trees. How would you not want to get behind him? It shows how dumb Jerry Jones actually must be, because
exactly
you have something to work with here. Pay him and get him situated while it's the cheapest before those numbers start going up. Before a home want more money, because it's probably going to come up pretty soon, and the next guy and whoever else is behind him. You're not doing that, and look what you have now. Now you end up losing a top 10 quarterback, or top 5 really, in favor of what? Who you can put in this place? Somebody out of the draft? You be building when you don't technically even have to. So that shows his meddling is like he's smart at the draft, but he's not smart at other stuff.
Yeah.
With the money and stuff, and not paying guys on time, like with Lamb, we shouldn't be here.
Yeah. There was no planning ahead at all. And to your point about the like, what are you doing without Dak? Like we kind of mentioned off air. Like, first off, Trey Lance hasn't played in nearly 2 years. What did he play? 2 games 2 years ago before getting hurt. He didn't play last year.
1 game a year.
It's almost 3 years, isn't it?
So if you go to the end of this year and assuming Dak's health, that means that'll be like 3 years of him not playing. And then you're hoping he's the answer. That doesn't make sense.
Well, not just that, but you still have to pay him. His contract's up, right?
Yeah.
Right?
So then
they go into next year without a quarterback that has a current contract.
Yeah.
Because all 3 quarterbacks have their contracts end.
And you're not going to lose enough games to get a super high draft pick. Like, you still have talent there for this next year. So you'll probably win too many games to be super high, just not enough games to be like a Super Bowl. So you're stuck in that middle ground that's ridiculous, that's not going to get you where you want to, and then you're going to have a mess on your hands next year and who you're letting go. So
you're going to trade up between you and some Texas. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah. And that's the problem. Being like a 9 to 10 win team right now is like maybe the worst thing that can happen to you. Unless you're, like if Green Bay wins 9 to 10 wins, they see that as, okay, we're moving along. That's probably good in our development. Next year we push. If you're the Cowboys, 9 to 10 that's awful considering where you need to be and what's about to happen. So
especially coming off of 3 12-5 seasons,
right?
Where you were expected to do something in the postseason, and it's funny because when you're looking at Dak, and I'm not a huge Dak fan, right? But like if you look at everything he did over this last year, he did cut down on interceptions. He played much smarter football. That loss to Green Bay was not on him. That was on some of the most ridiculous defensive play calling you could even draw up. So, I mean, did he play a perfect game? No, but did he play well enough to win? No question, right? That defense being nowhere near receivers ever Like, I don't know how you can play zone and then still not defend the zone you're in.
Yeah.
Like, it was some of the worst defense you could watch.
Yeah. And giving up to the same people over and over. That was my favorite part.
Oh, like nonstop. Like half the time you didn't even have a defender in the frame. You're just like, what are you even doing?
Yeah.
So, like you can't even give him the loss on that. So the fact that they haven't wanted to take care of that deal makes it look like you're moving on,
Right. With
all
no backup
indications
plan.
say you're going, but you don't have another plan because it's not like this is a really deep quarterback class. You're going to be a 9-win team, so your draft pick isn't going to be good. So you're not going to get the one guy that probably can play. You're going to bring Lance back, who has managed to stay healthy for one game a year? Probably not.
Right.
Certainly, I don't know why you'd be super high on him, considering you didn't even have him dress for part of the games last year, right?
Like, you get to feel like he thought he was super smart for getting him, and then once they got him there, they were like, oh, so this is why he's not playing also. There's other reasons, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because when he got there, people were like, oh, he's going to try and take Dak's job. It's like, what are you talking about? He couldn't beat out the second string guy.
who, by the way, has played well when he's, been thrown into action and has been in the system for years. So it just seems like you might have wanted to invest more in them than bringing in a competition that didn't need to be there. But I don't know. I'm not an owner. I'm not a GM. I can't make these.
I thought about I wasn't sure that, but Cooper Rush is on the roster. Cooper Rush is still there. So there's your number one guy. I'm almost forgot about him.
His contract.
He's your guy. So letting that go is great. Rush is your guy. He'll take it to the promised land.
Well, no, his contract is also up next year.
Watch him get the
Yeah, all three of them have their contracts end after this next season.
Watch him probably end up getting the money.
But the same thing we talk about with Deshaun Watson. Let's say that Dak Prescott has great health, right, at the end of the year.
Sure.
If you keep one of those backup guys, that's a guy who hasn't played for at least 2 years in Cooper Rush's place, Trey Lance 3 years. Like, all of a sudden you'd pay somebody who's your backup to be a starter and lead this team all of a sudden. Like, none of this makes any sense.
Well, I mean, Rush played incredibly well the year before, right?
Right, but I'm saying, like, he didn't play last year, right? And he won't play this year if Dak is healthy. So now you're like, hey, Cooper, we're going to pay you a whole bunch of money and hope you're the guy all of a sudden, even though he's been backing up. But when he was out there, he played very smart football. And I think being in the same system helped him. But I don't think anybody's seeing anything enough to say, oh, this is a guy who's ready to start, all 17 or 18, or I guess when they get up to 20-something games, or when they just start playing NFL year-round. I don't know if Cooper is the guy. But it's a stupid situation that it just seemed like, had you looked ahead a little bit, it's easy for me to judge. I'm taking everything year by year, but I figure if you're in charge of your team, all right, we're looking at this year, but what do we also look like 3 years from here on, 5 years from now?
Well, and it's not like this is something that you didn't see coming.
Right.
It's not like this guy got hurt and now we got to figure something out. These are contracts that you've known about.
Right.
So, it is kind of interesting. Raj. So this is tough, right? Because what I would pay him and what the position pays are different.
Right.
Right. Because you saw guys like Daniel Jones get a contract that just didn't make sense. So
Dak has been
that is literally a contract.
Always comes back to do that, doesn't it? Somebody who nobody cares about. He gets mentioned a lot, doesn't he?
No, he gets mentioned because it's a contract that didn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't matter what team it's on. That contract didn't make sense for his production. And so he's going to make north of what Daniel Jones did because he's a far better quarterback.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting because, like, a team like Cleveland, it would be great for if they weren't already sinking money into but a guy like until Deshaun. Yeah. But a guy like Dak who could get you through the regular season, 30 to 40 mil seems easy as far as what he would get. I don't know who's willing to pay him, but
I would bet he gets north of 50.
Yeah. And I'm afraid you're right. That's why I feel like, I guess to answer the top dollar I would want to pay him would be in that range, 30 to 40. But I mean, if you look at his stats, and if I'm his agent, I'm saying look at what we do. Here's our rankings. Like Mr. You said, he really is a top 5 quarterback in the regular season, like every year. You know, the stats look great. So he's going to command a lot of money. It's just what team wants to pay him, what team needs a boost for that and is just willing to figure it out in the regular season. That's why I said Cleveland probably would have been good just if the defense travels in the playoffs, unlike they did last year, I guess. But, you know, they can't do it, you know, because of Deshaun Watson. But there are situations. So
30 mils in his rear view mirror, man. He's already at 40 right now. You know he's not going to have a new deal for the same amount. You know that. So he's going to, like you said, when you guys said no for the 50, that's probably
that's what both said.
Yeah, that's what
I think I'm going more like his value to me is 30 to 40, but what will he get? Yeah, north of 50.
Yeah,
and that's why I said what I would pay him and what he's going to get are very different numbers.
Right.
Because, I mean, he's playing well enough that he's going to get one of those top contracts. And, I mean, you know, that's no different than giving that to Kirk Cousins, right? Who also hasn't done anything postseason play, but he always gets a top contract because during the season, he's a stat monster.
Right.
You know, and same thing Stafford used to get too, is, you know, he would get paid out because he was a stat monster all year. You know, obviously he gets over the hump with the Rams, but, you know, when he was with Detroit, like he made good money and, you know, he put up crazy numbers. They didn't win, but, you know, the stats look good, so it got him paid. And ultimately that's how Dak will get paid, is the stats look good.
Agreed. And that's all that it comes down to. And there's a lot to, like, take the Atlanta for instance, you know, okay, we know that you're not maybe great in the big games or in the playoffs, but we need this regular season boost. So getting Kirk Cousins makes sense, you know, and that's where I think a team will look for Dak. They're like, look, we don't think we're winning the Super Bowl next year, but we want a boost for this regular season. We want much better quarterback play. And then we'll just see where maybe you'll turn it all around in the playoffs. Who knows? But yeah, we want that boost for the regular season. So
that's a fun conversation. Where would he end up? What's the best place for him? That's a fun comment. I'm on board with that one.
Yeah,
but that's not gonna be easy. He might take him.
Well, it won't be easy because he'll have to want to go somewhere that has a good enough team they can win, and the team is going to have to be in a spot where they're like, we're a quarterback away.
Right.
Now I don't know if
no trade.
What's that?
Does he have a no trade?
Yes. So
that was negotiated in the last one. So
yeah,
they gave him all the leverage in the world to do like whatever's coming up. So.
Yeah, he has a no trade and a no franchise.
Yeah.
So
he has I have all the power clause. Like
absolutely. Yeah, he did the I'm betting on myself and he showed out.
Yeah.
Right. Now that could have went the other way. Like if he had a bad season, you're not going to make good money. Right. But he had one of his best seasons. And, you know, and that's something very similar to Kirk Cousins. Right. He bet on himself and got franchise tagged a couple of times. And that's how he ended up with the fully guaranteed contracts afterwards, because he was on a bad team, bet on himself, put up great stats. It was Washington, so it didn't matter because their defense was terrible. But I mean, so it can work out if you have a good year, and he did. So someone will pay him. This is hilarious, Rob. A work trade. Yeah, I mean, obviously,
we want to see
we're looking at next year.
Dallas.
When we're looking at next year, you know, there's some real questions at what it is going to happen to Fields and Wilson, right? Because they're both going to be available.
Right.
Because they didn't pick up Fields' fifth-year option. So his contract's done at the end of the season. And they got Wilson on a 1 year. So both those guys are going to be available depending on who it is coaching down in Dallas, right? Because, I mean, I don't really, even though it's funny to make Dallas fans cringe saying Mike Zimmer's going to get elevated into that spot, I don't think that's what's going to happen. It would be hilarious if it does. But, you know, just because it's fun to watch them squirm. But I don't think that's what actually goes down, though. But near as I can tell, their rebuild is starting early.
Mm-hmm. In a very weird spot, too. So,
yeah, this is at its worst.
Yeah. And we kind of praised Jerry Jones at times for like the way he drafts, the way he does certain things, but
he brings talent. Like he has an incredible ability to market and bring in talent. No question, right? His ability to draft has been really good. He can get talent in the door. The problem is he can't leave it alone once they're there. Like if he could just go away soon as the draft is over and let football people do football things, they might have won one. But because he has to be in front of the camera, like he needs the lights on him, he's a distraction. And you know, he needs coaches in there that don't defy him. He needs ones that will do whatever he says. And yes men in those positions aren't going to win.
Yeah.
Like, that's just not, it's not how it works. But that does get us to the top of the hour though. So let everybody know where they can find you guys.
Raj and Herb on Twitter. Here Monday mornings at 8 a.m. and Wednesday mornings at 8 a.m. We've got that Monday thing and Wednesday wrap up. And then Tuesday nights, Herb and Raj podcast, 8 p.m. all those Central Standard Time. And then, of course, you can find Herb and Raj podcast on YouTube.
I want to come back to that comment, but we're on, of course, at They Call Me Mr. U. We're on TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, and our YouTube channel by the same name. Of course, Mondays, that Monday thing at 9 a.m. our time when they wrap up here, of course, with the guys. And we got a new Thursday night Triple Threat Wrestling show twice a month. You can find on YouTube and Twitter as well there. And a few other places where you can see my face in the morning and in the evenings. Unbelievable, but that's what's happening. We're working. And as far as this coffee mug thing go, what are we talking about?
I think he's waiting for your address so he can send you one.
Yeah, right.
I mean, out of all the gifts you guys can think of that I would enjoy, this is what you got.
I don't know. We don't know what other teams you like. You've never talked about them, so I'm
really.
I'm just lost.
Let me give you some hints. Right now, I don't have any New York Knicks gear. I don't have anything. I don't have a hat. I have nothing. You can start there. A coffee mug with the Cowboys. I'm going to return the sender, man. I'm going to shake it up. If it's not like a mug, I'm sending it back.
All right. If you text me your address, I'll send you a Knicks hat.
Raj, I gave y'all a gift before. Gift that you like, gift that you want, that you enjoy. That's a gag gift, man.
Man.
Give you a Dallas coffee mug to smash on air.
Exactly.
I don't want the shards of infertility in my office.
You could be like, this is the Cowboys this year.
28 years of nothing, of failure. I can't have it in my house.
And of course, if you're watching here on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. If you are watching on Roku, be sure to stay tuned at the 1 o'clock hour Pacific time, where myself and Coach Bonamego interview the Fresno State University coach of John Baxter. So other than that, we will sign out. Thanks for watching, everyone.